So funny.
Ooh,
You got the camera cooking, but that's all right.
I do.
That's all good. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. We are live
In the bedroom.
in the bedroom. Mm, mm, mm. Come on in. Come on in. Let us know where you're streaming from. Come on in.
Charmaine.
Let us know where you are streaming from. It's going to be a good topic tonight. Good topic tonight. Let us know where you're streaming from. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Ba 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 ba.
Ba 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 ba.
Mm-hmm.
How was your day?
Can't complain. Can't complain. Made some good moves. Working on chapter 7 of How to Hear God. Felt really good about this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Got about 4 more chapters. Got to clean up, but I'm happy.
Okay.
What up, Pam
Hello,
from
hello.
St. Louis? Facebook user, whoever your name is. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you for
Can your
tuning.
computer get brighter? Oh wow, that's like night
Come
and
on,
day.
come on in, y'all. Come on in. Come on in.
Awesome. Hello, hello.
Joy, what's up? Pump it up and pain
Keep it
like
going. Keep it
sunshine and
going.
rain. Doo-doo-doo. Dog hair, probably.
Just hating. He always be hating on my dog, y'all. But it's all good.
Consistent. All right, let's
Okay.
jump in. Well, family, my name is Jomo.
I'm Charmaine.
We come together on Friday nights and we have real, raw, and relevant conversation
Real raw and
that
relevant.
pertains to
Yes.
relationships. We've been married now 24 years, been together dang near 30 years, and we're always trying to help and assist people to have better relationships.
Right.
You know, the one thing I realize over and over again is that communication is an imperfect art. I actually touched on it this morning in my morning teaching, but communication is an imperfect art form, meaning just because you say it right doesn't mean a person heard it right. And so it's such a challenge to communicate, and there's so many problems that happen in relationships based on poor communication. So
Right. Right.
tonight we want to talk about keys that you might be a bad communicator.
Right. I think, and don't think, oh, well, we don't have bad communication, but I think everyone can identify with some of the areas that we're going to talk about tonight because there's some areas in communication that we all can work on.
Hmm.
And if you're single and you're listening, you can work on this even in your regular relationships with girlfriends. You can use this for communication with work, just period.
Hmm.
So I think this is really good to identify some of these areas that we could work on.
Correct. Number
All right,
one,
number one,
you always interrupted me.
and this is very common because once we hear something we don't like, we want to get our point across before we forget, right?
Correct.
So then we jump in and we don't let the other person finish their thought.
So one of the key, a good way to help with communication in reference to people interrupting, create a mic. For example, my cell phone, consider this the mic. And what
Mhm.
it is, when I give you the mic,
Okay.
you talk and I be quiet. Now, you can't hog the mic.
Right. When I have the mic, you be quiet.
So, what we do to make this system work is give yourself a 2 minute clock, 3 minute clock,
Right.
4 minute clock.
I think
After,
4 minutes way too long.
oh, Lord
At
have mercy.
least two minutes, no
2 minutes.
more than 2 minutes.
So you give each other a clock and say, okay, babe, you have 2 minutes to tell me what to say. Because what happens, some women are like really long winded and just keep going and
Don't
going
do
and
that. Don't
going
do that. It's
and
not
go.
just women. When a man wants to make his point when he's arguing, he
Ah,
can pull out a sheet of paper on you in a minute or an email and just start going down a
no,
list. Do
the
you know
whole
somebody that does that?
no, I don't know somebody do that. A person will email to make sure it's clear
Oh,
and
I wasn't. Were you
explicit.
talking about you?
No, I'm just
Oh,
saying it
okay.
makes sense to me.
Okay,
Okay. But the gist of it is create a system to
brother.
where you
Hmm.
could have communication in an orderly fashion.
Right.
No junkyard communication.
Right.
If you go to a court, guess what? There's order.
Right.
So you have to make sure there's order in your communication.
I think it's really good too when you're using that tool as far as like holding a microphone. And the microphone can be a pencil or a pen as well. And you're holding it once you finish communicating. When the other person gets the microphone, before they start responding to what they think they heard, they should repeat back what they heard. And if that's not what they heard, then allow the person to reword it so that way you can address what they meant and not necessarily what they said.
To sum up what she said,
You don't
no,
think I communicated
no,
it
you
good?
did. You did a tremendous job. What
Okay.
I'm saying is communication is not complete until the communicator and the receiver have the same understanding.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I wanted to say.
Right.
So I want to make sure we say it right
Right.
and we also hear it right
Right.
so that it gets received right.
Right.
Number two, lack of
Number
eye
two.
contact. Um, Sometimes I struggle with this when I'm multitasking. I know for me, I know sometimes at church I'll be doing so many things, but I think that eye contact is a symbol of respect, and it also lets a person know that you're focused in on them and you are
Right.
listening to them.
Right.
Um,
Some people have a real challenge with looking at someone in the face when they're talking to them. And some people feel like no eye contact means that they're lying or not being honest about what they're saying. But sometimes it could also mean that maybe they're introvert or they're shy
Correct.
and they're trying to keep their thought processes together while they're communicating to you. And they don't want to get distracted by looking at you and talking. So you have to kind of know who you're talking to. But I think it's a great practice overall to practice eye contact when you're communicating to someone.
Yeah, and I think some much like what you said that sometimes a person not giving you eye contact, you don't know their history,
Right.
and in some in some countries, eye contact's a negative.
It's disrespectful.
So
Yes.
you got to make sure you know the proper context before you judge
Right.
a person.
Right.
Okay, number three,
Mm-hmm. Unengaged
unengaged
or
or
negative
negative
body
body
language.
language.
Oh, this is so good.
Okay, show me your negative body language. Okay,
Well, put your hands on your hip. You know, y'all probably can't see me put my hands on my hip, but put your hands on your hip.
roll your eyes like you do it. There it is.
Pinch your lips together,
Mm-hmm.
roll your neck,
Mm-hmm.
or like just acting like you aggravated with the person. Um, Sometimes it can be misread.
Well, here's the statistics. 55% of communication is body language.
Right.
38% is tone.
I think
7% is words.
it's an art. Like as far as like body language and how you want people to be reading you while they're communicating to you.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think it's definitely something to be interesting to study.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, we want to make sure that we have open communication, and it could make somebody put walls up with communication if you're giving them negative body language while they're talking, or it could discourage them from even wanting to communicate to you because of the feedback they're getting from your body language.
Okay, what's positive body language?
Your hands being down to your side or your hands in front of you, like on top. Or I think positive body language would be when your spouse or your partner trying to talk to you, to hold their hand in a gesture of I'm with you. You have my total,
Attention.
attention. Um, I support you. The touching of the hands, like you holding hands while you're communicating, can be very comforting and a supportive gesture.
All right, number four, distractions.
Oh my goodness. iPad, cell phones,
What you say? What you
television.
say?
I think too, distractions, I mean, at the end of the day, it's disrespectful. But make sure when you are trying to practice good communication that you do it in a good timing, because you may have a lot to say to your husband, but while he's watching a football game or a basketball game or the World Series, it may not be the best time to have a deep conversation about something right in the middle of a play. It may not be the best time to communicate to him right before he goes to work in the morning.
Or right before y'all about to have sex, or in the midst of having sex. Some people, I know some people will do that to you when I have a conversation right before sex. Hey babe, I was thinking about this. Who does that? Who would do such a thing? Don't you think that's totally disrespectful?
I think it's disrespectful to be like, trying to communicate to somebody through like, it's like passive
Oh,
aggressive,
passive aggressive.
and you're trying to communicate to me right
Ah,
now.
no, I thought it was funny.
I did that one time.
I know I was talking about you.
No, you were talking about me. Everybody knew. Put a
Oh.
Y if you knew that he was talking about me just now. You guys knew he was talking about me.
That was funny.
That was not funny. I did that one time. The garage hit his car, and I just thought maybe I'd get him in a good mood first.
Wow. Is that manipulation?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if that's manipulation. I was trying to get you in a good mood first before I told you the garage hit your car.
No, it
Oh,
wasn't the garage. It was the
mm,
Jemiah. That's what neither here nor there.
Jemiah.
Remember?
Oh, Jemiah swung the door out.
Yeah, that's what it
But
was.
the garage hit your car too that one time. Your car's been through a lot. Your car done hit animals on the side of the road. Your car has been through a lot.
Do y'all see? Do you
Anyway,
see the continued distraction?
is that a distraction?
You a gangster distractions.
That's not a
All right, number
distraction.
five. Number five. Multitask.
Multitasking. And
Multitasking.
you mentioned that earlier. That was a good example. So tell me how you multitask while I'm trying to communicate to you. We could use you as an example.
What you mean by that?
No, you said, well, I tend to multitask. And that's
No,
why you don't give me good eye contact.
me personally.
That's what
Yeah,
you said.
I I've come to the conclusion that I may
Mm-hmm.
have some challenges.
Okay. I think, and I'm not saying anybody has ADHD or ADD, but I think when you have to be doing multiple things at one time, it could be a comforting thing, or it helps you like focus when you're multitasking.
She trying to diagnose me, y'all.
So
So don't
no, no,
don't.
no.
She
I'm not
just
saying that it was
she
you. I'm just saying some people.
some people.
Um, but I do
Hmm.
notice that you tend to focus more when you're doing multiple things. Like you'll be typing and you'll be thinking like I'm processing, and I'm like, how are you processing when you're writing a sermon while we talking? But you'll be processing. You're like, I gotta process that, and I done already processed it and came up with a conclusion and got it, in the shopping cart, and I'm waiting for you to process, brother.
All right. Next one.
No, no, go back to multitasking now. How do you think people could work on that? Do
I
you think
I, I
some
think
people
I
have to multitask
I
though?
think first off, if multitasking is not a detriment to your communication, then it's not hurting. Meaning, if the other spouse
Doesn't care.
doesn't care,
Yeah,
then it shouldn't be relevant.
right,
If it's important to her, it has to be important to me. If it's important
right.
to him, it has to be. So my point is, it's all based on a case by case
True,
situation.
true.
Now, if the person is understanding what you're saying and multitasking, and you're getting the desired result, cool.
Right.
But
If they're what do
if
you say? Repeat yourself
correct,
again?
if they didn't get
Yeah.
it, now it's a problem.
Right.
So if you can comprehend and do all these things and still do what you got to do, there's no problem.
Right.
But if it becomes a detriment to what you guys are doing, then it's something that needs to be adjusted and communicated.
I like how you said case by case basis, because even if you are normally a multitasker, depending on the situation, it might be a serious thing where you need somebody's undivided
Correct,
attention, and then you
correct.
just communicate that.
Yeah,
If that's not something you guys normally practice. Okay, number 6, poor listening skills.
this kills everybody.
You hearing but you ain't listening, bruh. You're hearing but you ain't listening.
Listening
What
has
does
a
it mean?
listening means there's a corresponding action.
What is hearing?
Hearing means you heard an audible sound,
Mm-hmm.
but listening means there was a corresponding action to the sound.
Like I said, don't cheat on me again, and then you cheated on me again. So that means you was hearing, but you weren't listening.
Wow.
But when I took all your money out the bank,
Wow.
then you was listening, brother.
You see how her eyes went crazy? You see how she looked kind of crazy?
And then you want to call the church talk about, oh, my wife that took all the money out the bank. Oh, you listening now, aren't you? You listening real good.
Wow.
That was just an example.
Wow.
That's not a real story. But that was a good one, though, wasn't it?
That was a threat. It's a promise. Oh, Lord.
but you hear this a lot in relationships, like we keep going through the same things over and over and over again because there's not a corresponding action
Yes.
that's taking place.
So the Bible says faith without works is dead.
Dead.
Faith without action is dead. So if I heard you, there
Mm-hmm.
should be a change or action based on what you said.
Right.
I told my son to take the trash out.
Come on.
He said, Dad, I heard you. Okay. Now, when I wake up in the morning time, Saturday morning, and don't see the trash out, he heard
I
me,
beat you.
but he didn't listen to me. Listening has an action attached to it. That's why the Bible says faith comes by hearing and hearing the word. So you have to have a hearing and a hearing. Some of you just have a hearing, but you don't have a hearing and a hearing.
Oh, but when I was growing up, we had a hearing and a where that bell at? A hearing.
Lord have mercy. So we have to make sure, and listening is very difficult. That's why I take notes. Now, some people don't like me taking notes, but I try to take notes so that I
It
can
can
actually.
be a little distracting when you're talking, and it's like now you become a professor because they're taking notes on what you said. But then I get that he's processing information that way. So, I mean, who am I?
My whole goal is if I write it down, I'm less inclined to get into the emotional state of what you said. I want to hear it so
Right.
that I can really work on whatever issue I need to work on.
That's
It's
good.
hard to work on memory
Mhm.
because memory is a poor, memory takes bad records.
Right.
So,
No, it's good.
number 7, this
Number
is huge.
7.
Make assumptions. Oh my God. Don't even they don't even finish the statement before you all up
Oh,
in.
I know what you're about to say. That's you. I know what you're about to say.
Lord have
What
mercy.
am I about to say? That ain't what I was about to say. Oh, that's what she was about to say.
Just a hotmess.com. Just a hot mess. And I know for me, I get a whole bunch of the assumption is the wrong assumption.
And it's always negative because it's easier to for some people to digest the negative
Mhm.
first before they assume positive intent.
Which is just you have to work on that.
Right. All right.
Number 8,
Number 8.
implying motives, which is similar to making assumptions.
Mhm.
You feel as if you know everything. You're implying that a person is thinking this and thinking that when they ain't even thinking that, and you have to be very careful with that.
Right.
Now the problem is, some have a bad history, a bad track record, and
Right.
even I know me in my life, my walk. It's assumed one thing, and I'm not even thinking that, or
Right.
just
Right.
and it's hard to get past the old man or the old woman of who you used to
If
be.
you have like bad reputation for doing things.
Correct.
Yeah.
Number 9.
Number 9, overly emotional.
Charmaine, do this one. This is good.
I think this could be either way. This could be the male or the female because sometimes you hear, I guess it depends on where it hits, if it hits home or if it triggers you in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form, you can get overly emotional about a situation. And I could be listening to someone talk about a situation and it's not that big a deal to me, but it's everything for them. So they're really allowing their emotions to lead them versus trying to, really communicate what hurt them, how they feel like they could resolve the issue together. Um,
I know for me,
but
I
I've
agree.
seen guys be overly
No,
emotional
I
about things
totally
too.
agree. Totally.
So it's not like a male or a female thing. It's just
I
where it hits home for you. And I think it trigger for the most part it triggers things out of people. Like if you have a past of somebody, being abusive in one way, shape, or form, then one thing happens and may trigger you, and then you just go off the rails.
correct. Number 10, too self-absorbed. It's all about you.
Mm.
When it's all about you, it's very hard to hear anybody's point of view because all you see is you.
Mhm.
And the challenge is for many people who may have been single for a long time, or they're a single child, or whatever the situation is, you never had to have empathy. You
Mm.
never had to walk out somebody else's situation.
Right.
So all you do is see your perspective. Now, I know many relationships where this is happening in reality, whereas they don't see themselves. They
Mhm.
don't, their stuff don't stink. They got everything together. Don't realize that it takes two. You're not in this situation by accident.
Right.
You are a contributing factor. And we have to own it. I know there was a couple that we were talking to a long time ago. And, he decided to make some poor decisions and, on one tip, obviously he made a bad decision. On the second tip, she allowed some bad decisions. And
Mm.
he was more wrong, but they were both wrong. And I looked at it and I said, sometimes we want to pigeonhole or cast blame on one person, but there's often an environment that was set to make a person do something.
Right.
I know there was a
What is
situation,
pigeonhole?
pigeonholes where you kind of put somebody like it's all their fault.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
no one else is all you. Where
I didn't want to ask, but then I was like, somebody else might want to know.
So we have to be mindful.
Okay.
So, a person will, I'm just not gonna give him no more sex. Okay, now that is a response. Okay.
Right.
Now here's the problem. If you're not gonna give him sex,
Where you gonna get it?
where you gonna get it from? Now, some good men out there can hold on and they got the strength of Jesus and the strength of Paul, and they don't have no urges. But this
But then doesn't the woman have urges?
she does too. No, no. And some women can't hold on either. There's some brothers out here holding out, talking about I'm tired. Hey, this is there's mutual now because there's a lot of femininity
Uh-huh.
going on in men.
Mm.
There's actually a study saying the actual strength of a man's handshake has gone down, and the strength of a woman's handshake has gone up. Women's testosterone has gone up, and men's estrogen has gone up. Something going wrong. Something going on. All I'm saying is we have to be mindful
Mhm.
of how we flow. I'm
Mhm.
gonna leave that alone.
Yeah, because I don't. I mean, I don't really have a comment on that.
You ain't gotta have no comment on it. Just be you.
Yeah.
Number 11.
Number 11, not asking enough questions. This is such good communication, in my opinion, to ask questions before you respond to what you heard, because then you can get a well-rounded picture of the person's perspective. Because like you said earlier, my experiences even growing up or in previous relationships are different than your experiences. So you may respond differently or think differently about a situation based off of your experiences. So if I know that the reasoning behind why you respond the way you respond is because of a negative experience, I will have more grace in that area toward you, and it may not even be an issue. I can just let it go. But if I don't truly understand and ask questions, so why do you do that? Well, why do you feel that way? Well, when you do that, do you think that's the best thing for you at the time, or do you think you can manage it differently?
When you did this, you made me feel like that. And when I feel like that, I act like this.
That's not a question.
I'm not saying that.
Oh.
I'm saying is when we're trying to communicate
Mm-hmm.
and say, listen, when you did this, it made me feel
Right.
like this.
Right.
And when I feel like this, I
Mm-hmm.
sometimes act like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just communicating. Why do you do that? I always try to figure out why. I try to figure out why. And sometimes asking a question ends up turning into something else where I'm like, why do you do this?
And a
And
lot of times we try to fix the issue versus asking them, how can we help you? Because sometimes what you're trying to do and what their goals are totally different.
totally different
So asking questions is a really good one.
all day
They
long.
give examples. How are you? How are you feeling? Um, just ask more questions before you respond. Anyway,
Number 11,
number 12.
Oh, number 12. Focus on the person instead of the behavior. Mm,
That's hard
real hard.
because that's the person's doing the behavior. That's hard, but
Babe, why do you do that?
focus on the person.
I love you, but when you do this,
Oh.
it makes me feel like that.
Yeah, John was like, I love you. I just don't love your pot roast.
I like your pot in your house.
Funny.
Yo, I could roast that pot anytime.
When was the last time I cooked something that you didn't like? You said, I really you said that before to me, It was all right. I don't ever have to have that again.
I don't know. I don't think you made it. I think you warmed it up. The crab cakes weren't as good as the ones from Maryland.
They're not as good as the ones from Maryland.
So that wasn't, but I ain't say nothing. That's I said, I had one.
Hmm.
So I've learned if I don't like it, I don't eat a lot versus saying something's negative about it.
Well, I want to know because I don't want to waste my time. Can I
No,
get an amen?
no, but rarely do you have.
That was so off the subject. I just want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. We on camera. Go on, tell me, brother.
I ain't saying nothing that's gonna get me shot tonight. Just
No, not shot. You just may not get her. You may not get extras.
there you go. That's see that's threatening people
No, it's
again.
not threatening.
It's a promise. It's
You
a
can still
promise.
you can still have some. You can have a piece, but you can have a piece of a piece.
Lord have mercy. You need Jesus.
All right. What's the next one?
Keeping score. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 13, love keeps no record of wrongs.
Right.
I want to ask you right now, our viewing audience,
Uh huh.
do you have a mental list of things that your spouse, boyfriend, or girlfriend have done
Hmm.
that when you get into an argument, you bring it up?
That is your bullet.
All I want y'all to do is say yes. If you have a mental Rolodex of things you're going to say when the argument happens, I already know about
Or
five.
you have an email
I ain't done any,
that you done typed up.
I ain't done it in years. So you gotta let that one go. I ain't done that in years.
I'm just messing with you.
I ain't
Yeah,
done
that
it.
was funny.
But do you have some things that you say consistently that every time you have an argument, you're gonna bring up the same situation? That means ultimately,
Something hit you just right,
well,
and you just can't let
what
it
it
go.
usually indicates is that it's not been forgiven.
Right.
Because if you keep bringing it back up, you
Yeah.
didn't really forgive them. Even if they say I'm sorry and forgive it, they ain't
Because
forget. They keep
a person saying I'm sorry doesn't make you forgive them.
there. It is. Yeah.
That it doesn't.
No, you bring it straight.
Forgiveness is something you have to work on internally for yourself.
Oh yeah, I know. I know what I'm about to get loud, loud. All right, what's the next one?
The next one is expecting mind reading.
Now,
You should have known. You knew I didn't. You already know.
how?
You already know that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Question: how is a man, a husband,
Mm-hmm.
supposed to know better?
Some things you just supposed to know.
Well, how am I supposed to know that?
You know you're not supposed to be putting your private parts in other places they ain't supposed to be. Some things you just supposed to know. You don't supposed to put your lips on nothing, but your wife, you know that.
I can kiss my children.
You can kiss your children.
I can kiss my mama.
You see how you try to twist that out, old Jedi mind trick foolishness.
So you're saying a man or a woman should know that their body.
Certain things you should know. Certain things. Now, if you done made up rules and stuff in your relationship and you didn't communicate that, then that's ridiculous. That's something you need to talk about.
Agreed.
But I think, principle of marriage and the sanctity of marriage, I don't even need to be talked about. Oh, babe, we ain't never talked about me riding my ex in the car with me by herself late at night. I mean, she was stranded at 1 o'clock in the morning.
I was just being a good Samaritan. I was just
Oh,
trying
I'm
to.
I'm gonna be a good Samaritan too.
I was just trying to take her home.
I'm gonna be a good Samaritan too.
I just want to take her home, make sure she's safe.
You better hope somebody a good Samaritan because you're gonna be on the street. You're gonna be on the
The
street.
Bible says the Good Samaritan didn't leave the person on the road.
Mm.
Terry says she better call an Uber. Uber wasn't around back then.
Come on now. Yeah, I think certain things, but getting back to expecting mind reading, I definitely think, when you write expectation exercise, like we always talk about for your relationship, they're the things that you discuss in your expectation. These are the things that I expect. And if you
Yeah.
haven't discussed them, if it's not like a foregone conclusion,
I
I
think a
think.
lot of men and women don't know what to do in a relationship. Therefore, they are inadequately prepared
Hmm.
to walk out marriage. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of expectation where a person thinks that I'm gonna have a knight in shining armor. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. She's going to do
Right.
this and do that. And then when they have not done things in certain situations, then the person is disappointed thinking that they should know better. But my point to you is, how do I know better if I was not taught? How do I know better if I didn't have a father or a husband to show me how to respond in certain situations? So, a lot of things that happen in relationships
Hmm.
where we assume someone knows better based on your experience or your family or your parents versus another person situation who didn't have that example or that model.
Right.
So I think it becomes a challenge, and that's why, much to your point, expectation exercises are critical
Hmm.
so that we all stay on a level playing field in regards to relationships.
Right. Right.
It is 32 after. You want to continue or you want to land the plane?
We can land the plane.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to y'all next week and we'll finish this list off
Yes.
on signs of poor communicators and just talk about in general how we
Right.
can work and be better communicators in our relationship, because I know uh, even as good of a communicator as I think I am, I still fall short.
We both do.
And
We
it's
both
like,
do.
because sometimes I've learned when emotion sets in, logic leaves.
And I've learned that when life gets busy, that's when you have to communicate more, because sometimes we can tend to assume, if you've been with a person for a long time, you can tend to assume that you know what they're going to do, or you know what their actions are. And when it doesn't work out, you can't get mad because you never communicated. So, when life gets busy and it gets hectic, that's when you need to sit down with your spouse and say, hey, let's go over some things, or be overly communicating. And it's so easy in these day and times to send a text message, put it on a Google Calendar, or make a phone call. So anyway, that's my little 2 cents.
Well, we love you. Have a wonderful Friday night.
Thank you
Remember,
so much. Love
laugh.
and learn.
What do you subscribe to, Charmaine?
Jomo and Charmaine on YouTube. And please leave in the comment section one of your communication tips, and then we'll go through them next week.
God bless you. Good night.